the more cursory knowledge you get as an artist, like in general, is the more ammunition that you have. There's always more to know out there, and then also like seeing how your stuff has evolved over time, or just like being self-indulgent, because you know that's part of it too. Is like your joy will come through, and when it's obvious that you're into something. So like a combination of just like all of that will kind of like collide into something unique.
Hi everybody, my name is Reynaldo Quintero, also known as REIQ. Today, well, right now I'm in Wondercon. This is my booth right here, and next to me is Alex Ahad. Many of you know him already. His work is amazing, and I just took a chance to have a little chat about his work. He has, you can see, has a lot of material, a lot of like amazing drawings. He have done stuff for like a lot of people.
I mean, I guess my main claim to fame, I guess, would be like Skullgirls. I was the character designer and world creator of the Skullgirls IP, so I guess that would be the main thing. I also worked at Indivisible when I was at Lab Zero, and I'm currently doing concept work for Pado Labs for Starlight Revolver. It's like a action like roguelike that's multiplayer, and it's got a very cool aesthetic to it. I'm like more like just contributing to some of the monster designs and like the some of the additional concepts like that. So it's been a fun project to work on. Most of the things that I do are either like character designs or illustrative work. So some combination of that.
Yeah, I personally like his work for a long time. He's like, I think what I like from his work is how dynamic are the drawings, the coloring. All your characters have like a little bit depth in terms of like puns or funny jokes, or it's something sometimes even more serious, like I know lore to the characters. So I wanted to ask, when you are doing your character designs, can you tell me a bit about your process? You go for like shape design, or you go for like one idea that you already have?
Yeah, like for the, in particular, like if you're talking about like the conduct that I'm trying to do is like a Monsterville Pro Wrestling is I love UMA Ultimate Monster Alliance is what it's called. You know, obviously I like a lot of Monster Girls, so that's kind of like basically a lot of like, in terms of like specifically this thing, it's like kind of self-indulgent, so it's just like a combination of things that I just like, and then just like combining all that together. Like you're saying, a lot of times a decision I'll make might be based on if there's like a pun involved, or if there's like wordplay or like some sort of visual motif or something like that. So that could help in terms of decisions on that. Yeah, I would say like in terms of that would be something that I play off of. Or like, you know, for this I like to study a lot of different mythologies to kind of get ideas from. Like there's a Manananggal in there, for example. I'm like Filipino, so the idea of having like Manananggal, which is like, it's a special kind of vampire that splits in half, and the upper half grows wings and kind of move on its own. So the idea of playing with that idea in like pro wrestling, because then she's basically her own built-in tag team, so that you can kind of play off of that. You can do crazy stuff with like Monster Girls and then pro wrestling, and then just in the context of like sports entertainment, but also like these mythological creatures, and put it in a modern setting. So it's kind of like a fun combination.
Kind of like those games like Darkstalker, right? Like, oh yeah, based on like some monster mythology, or like the classics. But I like yours as well, because they're like very like unexpected, and they complement each other. And what I like personally is like how you keep your characters like more like a simple shape design, but really strong like distribution, I guess, right?
Oh, anyway, yeah, I mean, like that's always something that's important, is the shape language. Is like I like big shapes, you know. I mean, like, we all like Capcom stuff, and you can tell when you see like how Capcom interprets like character designs. They always like really push it. Like when you think about like how they do Wolverine, like how chunky the claws are every time, like, or like even like the accents of his boots and stuff, and like they match kind of like his mask. Like they really push like shape language, and I feel like, you know, that's like a gold standard. You know, it's just like you know, like we all strive to like that kind of level of like the character silhouettes are like the strongest part, and then everything else after that is like sort of an afterthought in comparison to the shape language. You know, so I think like that's kind of like I always feel like that's an important priority.
I mean, you do animation, you have done animation for the games as well, or maybe not the full animation, I don't know, but you know how to like have all those frames and make sense, and the timing of things when it should appear. When you draw your characters, you're also thinking about all those things, even if it doesn't show at the end, but you know that these characters have all of these, right?
Yeah, I think like part of designing a character is thinking about how they move also, and how they look in action. Like I like to think of it like when you make a character, like aside from making the turnaround, that's like one step. Like what the real test comes in when you like kind of like put it to a stress test, so to speak. like by making the character do as many poses as you can. Like have it like you might start to realize like, oh, that accessory that it has on as a belt is like getting in the way of it. It's like blocking the action. Like let's say, like I guess in the wrestling context, like sometimes I'd have characters with like big chunky designs on them. Yeah. But then, if you actually want to do like proper grappling or wrestling, and you want to be able to see the hips because that's kind of an important part. But if that stuff's like interfering, you might not realize that in the turnaround because it looks cool while they're standing, they have this cool belt or whatever. Yeah. But then like you start to like have them do more things, and then it's like, wait, this is kind of getting in the way. And then you go back and redesign a little bit to streamline it, right? So there's like a back and forth process, and I think that's kind of like an important part of the process is, seeing how the characters look like in motion and what they do in action. Because like, and also like, if they have unique properties to like, if they have a prosthetic limb or something like that, or like if their body splits in half, you kind of want to know like what that looks like, as well as also that is part of the design. So, like thinking of the characters' layers, thinking like how their construction is all an important part of the character design, more than just like what they look like in an ortho, so it's more than just that. Yeah,
it's hard, and it takes a lot of like sort of creativity to do that step to make it a complete, but you have so much experience already that I feel like you have so many ideas already that it's just like you're like stealing all the ideas out. Because
I think like part of it is like also just like knowing a bunch of different things, like, and picking up random trivia from other things. Like I could do better in this too, is just the research and stuff. It's always good to like, there's always more to know out there. And then also like, obviously seeing fashion or seeing other people's stuff, or seeing, how your stuff has evolved over time, or just like being self-indulgent, because that's part of it too, is like your joy will come through in when it's obvious that you're into something. So I try not to hide that either. So it's just like like a combination of just like all of that will kind of like collide into like something unique. It might be a combination of things you like, or it might be a combination of things you picked up in terms of like trivia, or like mythology, or like knowing stories. Just like the more cursory knowledge you get as an artist, like in general, is the more ammunition that you have that you can use to make it like an effective.
Otherwise, you will be limited by the artwork that you see that is they already went through that filter.
Right, yeah.
And it's already like being produced, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's also good to know like where they got their idea from. It's good to like, nothing came from nothing, right? Like no things came from nothing. Like there's always something that it came from. So like it's good to know both like the other thing, but also where they got it from. So then, and it's not like you're saying, oh, they ripped it off from this. It's more like, oh, that's where they got this from, and I can see where it came through. And then it's just like knowing that lineage is cool, because then you can like, you can learn. Yeah, you can like, maybe there's something that got lost over time that you want to pick up again. So
and then you find like even more interesting stuff that you. Which I think is something that is going to be even harder now with the AI and the internet information. Everything is it's being polluted.
There's a filter you have to go through. Like
so being an artist also have those like reference books that are already like super hard to find because they are like 20 years like old books, or even more like 50 for the 50s, 70s books. Yeah. So like the Internet Archive might help, but or like even like Wikipedia, at least having some articles and stuff like that, you might be able to help. But it's like hopefully you can going to an old school library, like just be able to get books. Yeah. It's always an important part of the process too, I suppose. Because I think like knowing like that stuff from as much as you can, as much knowledge as you can get, is always just good for a good foundation. Well, I'm gonna say, like we're here at Wondercon, but you can find Alex in a lot of conventions. He goes everywhere and he works his ass off. So he has a lot of merch that you can buy.
I appreciate that people like my stuff, and that's very inspiring. And I think that's one thing that's always nice about conventions and stuff, because it's kind of a nice reminder, and it's always nice to be reminded that we're all part of a community. Yeah. But I think it's also like I definitely have like a lot to improve, so I'm always like trying to work on stuff. But I really appreciate the kind words and stuff, and that's very flattering and stuff.
So yeah, man, awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for like being part of this. I know you don't do this often, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I definitely
like X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Yeah.